Hey everyone, it's the Grumpy Meatball. I am back after a bit of a hiatus, and today we're going to talk about something not in any way, shape, or form board game related. But you're going to love it anyway, so let's hop into it. Today we are looking at the Final Fantasy IV Pixel Remaster that was recently released. I purchased it on Steam and just wanted to chat with you a little bit about what I think about it and what I think about the game and kind of my history, my love affair with this series and this particular installment. So let's get into it. Oh, there they are. God, the art. Just, look at these character sprites. It's so amazing. Alright, so I'm on Mounter Deals right now. Cecil has just become a paladin. Spoilers for anybody who hasn't played this 30-year-old game. Um, and right now, my party is consisting of the main character, Cecil Highwind. He's the Dark Knight turned paladin. Porum and Palom, the two twin magic users from Mysidia. And the old man, you love him, you hate him, you can't ignore him. Tella, the sage, who has just learned how to cast the most powerful spell in the game, Meteo. Although it's called Meteor in this version of the game, and it costs. Let's take a look here. Yeah, it costs 99 magic points, and he only has 90. So that's going to be problematic for him. We'll learn more about that another time. Not in this video series, because I don't want this to be 200 hours long. I'm just doing a single video. So right off the bat, the characters and the world that they built for this installment of Final Fantasy just captured my imagination as a kid in a way that nothing had previously. I was a very serious video game player as a child, like all day, every day. I always tell a story about how I used to set an alarm for 1 o'clock in the morning on every school night so that it would wake me up so I could get up and play games before my dad got up and went to work so I could fit more game time in. And one of the games that I would get up and play at 1, 2 in the morning, 5, 6 o'clock, you get a hide behind the couch, wait for your dad to leave, and come back out and finish up, was Final Fantasy 2 at the time, because Final Fantasy skipped 2 installments when it came to the West. We got the original, and then we got Final Fantasy 4, which they renamed to 2. And so right off the bat, the characters are just so amazing and lovable. Cecil's such a lovable kind of badass anti-hero redeemed by the light early in the game and becomes a paladin. These two are hilarious. The twins. Porum is the kind of serious, studious white mage, and Palom is the smart aleck kind of slacker black mage. Although my Palom is pretty strong. I have a trick for leveling these guys up, and I used it on Palom so I could get a particular spell to help me get through the game. And then you get Tella the Sage, who is just like a rage-filled monster of an old man. He's famously attacks Edward the Bard because he thinks he kidnapped his daughter, and hits him with his staff, calls him a spoony bard, which they kept that translation in this version of the game, which is awesome. So many other characters. Rosa, kind of Cecil's love interest. Rydia, the summoner. Yang, the monk who fights with the dual elemental claws and can do just insane amounts of damage if if he can match the element up against the bad guy's weakness. Edge, Fusoya, even Golbez, Kane, the famous dragoon who was on the logo that you saw there, who is a little bit of a trickster. He's constantly stabbing you in the back and betraying you, and then coming back and being controlled by Golbez and Zemus and so forth. And so I just fell in love with the characters, the art. Even on the Super Nintendo, this version does look considerably better, but it still holds the same kind of charm. But even on the Super Nintendo, the game looked great and very vibrant, and the spell effects and the summons were insanely cool. The music is... I'm hoping you're hearing it right now. I tried to set up OBS so that you'd be able to hear the music. The soundtrack is just absolutely ludicrous for the time that it came out. It's astonishing what they were able to accomplish. That Super Nintendo sound chip is kind of famous, and this game is one of the reasons why, because it just freaking slaps, man. The battle music, the Battle with the Four Fiends theme, the boss theme, the end theme. Hold on for a second. Freaking Palom ran out of magic, so I need to get out of here and just let him rest. It'll make this so much faster. The gameplay is butter smooth. The progression is pretty solid. There's a little bit more kind of backtracking and going to the underground and then coming back and then going to the moon and then coming back, and there's a bit of that where it kind of feels like they maybe didn't lose steam, but they just ran out of places to go, basically, and they were maybe trying to deliver a full experience, and so pushed the game out a little longer than it probably had to be. But this was 1991 that this game came out. I was 11 years old, so I certainly didn't have any problem with it back then, and I don't have a problem with it now. And so just this game is just a triple A hit in every aspect, basically. And I've talked about this in other videos. Cecil as a Dark Knight is like my favorite. He made Dark Knights that kind of archetyped, like a permanent favorite of mine in all following video games, comic books, board games, and as a paladin. Actually, I love paladins too. I love Dark Knights and paladins. Those are my two favorite character classes. My main character in World of Warcraft that I played for 10 years was a blood elf paladin, and so that really had an impact on me. And just, it's a cool world filled with cool people, cool bosses, cool shit to do, cool swords. Look at this thing. A holy sword inscribed with the legend of Mysidia. Fuck yes! Right? Like, let's do this! And so I've always loved this game. I got it in 1991 and never looked back. I've purchased this game, I think, 10 or 12 different times on different systems. Sometimes I try to go through the list. I can't even find a list on the internet that is as exhaustive as the list I have in my head of the number of times I bought this. So I bought it on the Super Nintendo. I bought it on the PlayStation 1 in the kind of collection, the anthology collection. I've purchased it on the PlayStation Portable or the PS Vita. Yeah, I think it was PlayStation Portable. On the Nintendo 3DS, the first 3D remake. I've purchased it on mobile. I purchased it on PC multiple times because I had the 3D remake and the Pixel Remaster on PC. I purchased it on the Wii Virtual Console. It was either the Wii or the Wii U. I can't remember. The Wii or Wii U Virtual Console. I want to say it's on the SNES, the little mini SNES, and I could go on. I mean, and I will keep buying this game until the day I die. Basically, you put a new version of this game out that isn't complete garbage, and I will buy it. Because I just love it, man. It just makes me feel good about my life and my situation. And this Pixel Remaster in particular, I was a little bit worried about, to be honest. I don't really love remasters that make big changes to the original game. You know, there are exceptions. You know, like the Diablo 2 Resurrected, which I'm also playing. I did finally end up getting it to run by buying a $1,300 graphics card. That game, it looks incredible, like mind blowing, and it is absolutely worth the remix. But I also like World of Warcraft Classic, and I like the way that it looks as World of Warcraft Classic, and I'm glad that they didn't upgrade the graphics. Games of this generation, and Super Nintendo games in particular, have aged better than just about any other video game generation ever. And probably they will remain, that generation will remain the high point of, like, longevity of these games. The NES era was a little... There are standout games on that system that are as good today as they were, 35 years ago. Mega Man 2, Metroid, Super Mario Bros. 3. These games haven't aged today. But the Super Nintendo was really the pinnacle of that kind of pixel 8-bit, 16-bit technology merged with, they had the horsepower to beef up the sound card, to render more colors, more kind of pixel layers, mode 7 silliness, and these games they still look good. Go back and look at a PlayStation 1 game. Go back and look at Final Fantasy 7. That game looks like dog shit now, okay? Let's just get it out there. There are a bunch of other reasons why that game is dog shit. I'm not going to go into it now. But as, a kind of 40-year-old veteran of Final Fantasy, that game did not do it for me the way that something like this or 6 did. But these games just they've aged so well, and this is a very competent, very kind of measured remaster. So you can see it. You could easily look at this and think it was the Super Nintendo game. If you hadn't played this game, I've beaten this game 30, 40 times. So I see every tiny little, difference in like the menus and in the pixel, the character sprites and such. But if you were a normal person who hadn't essentially dedicated half your life to this game, you would never know that it's not a Super Nintendo game, except that it doesn't look like garbage on a 4K TV, which is what I'm playing it on right now. It looks beautiful. And they remastered the soundtrack to it. As worried as I was about the graphical remaster, I was even more worried about the soundtrack because it's one of the all-time great video game soundtracks. It stands up to anything that came out yesterday, and Nobuo Uematsu is just like, the ultimate master of video game RPG soundtracks, and so why mess with it? But I have to say that I do enjoy the remastered soundtrack. Like I said, all the battle sequences, the themes are just amped up to 11, and they really are just punchy and fun to listen to, and I don't think that they screwed anything else up. They, did a good job of kind of adding orchestration where there would have just been kind of, bleeps and bloops previously, but they were relatively reserved about it. They didn't set out to fix what isn't broken, and this game is not broken. So yeah, I am a huge fan of this Pixel Remaster. I have the Final Fantasy 3 Pixel Remaster as well. 3, not 6. And I messed around with it a little bit, but I didn't get super into it. It doesn't look quite as good. It doesn't sound anywhere near as good because this soundtrack was really when Uematsu hit his stride, as far as I'm concerned. And so it's very competent, and I haven't played 3, so I will go back and play it. But as soon as 4 came out, I was like, oh well, that's the end of that for now, at least. But I just couldn't be happier with this remake. People have a problem with the font size. That was in some of the earlier versions. I don't know if it's still an issue in this version. I'm playing this on a 50-inch 4K TV, and I have the worst vision in the world, and it looks fine to me. So maybe they resolved it. If they didn't, there's a simple fix that you can put in place by messing with a text file, basically. Look at this little bastard. Oh, he's really working me up. He's really getting worked up, putting everybody on hold. Yeah, I haven't run into any bugs. There's nothing I've noticed that it was altered. It is the kind of advanced version of Final Fantasy IV. So when Final Fantasy IV came over to America originally, it came over as basically the easy type. They took out a bunch of character abilities like this cry, for instance, because they didn't want to confuse people. So, Palom there has an ability where he can make his next magic attack stronger by bluffing. That didn't come over in the original version of the game because they didn't think that an American audience kind of could deal with the complexity. I don't really know that that's true, but that was the thinking at the time. And so this is the advanced version, the original Japanese version, so it does have more abilities and more. It's a little more difficult, I think, and so if you have never played that version, I've played it dozens of times because I bought it on all these other systems. Game Boy Advance, that's another system I own this on. And so if you haven't played anything but the Super Nintendo version, then you're in for a little bit of a treat because it is different. But I just wanted to take some time to talk about this and explain, because this explains a lot. It explains why I haven't been posting as much content recently. It's one of the reasons, because I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy and a lot of Diablo. I don't play a lot of anything because I have a wife and kids and, other obligations, but I play as much Final Fantasy IV as I can get away with, basically. And so that's been kind of taking up my time a little bit. And it also just, like I said, if you've seen any of my other videos about Chronicles of Drunagor, or as we cover more kind of, dungeon crawly type video games, you'll see me gravitating towards like plate wearing characters with wholly inspired abilities or dark magic abilities. And this guy right here is the reason why. Because for whatever reason, this grabbed me when I was a kid, and it just kind of never let go. And now I'm an old, broken down old man who's still obsessed with a 35-year-old video game, and I'm making a 20-minute video about it. And no one gives a shit, but I do. So thought I'd share my journey with Final Fantasy a little bit with you. So that's basically all I had for today. I have a video coming, part of a new series I'm tentatively calling Just One Round. I've found that the gameplay videos that I've been capturing up until now, they're just too long and they're too hard to edit. And I have all these technical problems, like my phone runs out of battery while I'm filming it, or I get a notification on my phone because I forgot to put it into airplane mode. And I'm still doing this very much as an amateur, so I don't have like dedicated equipment for it. So as a kind of happy middle ground, what I thought I'd do is just start filming gameplay, board game gameplay instead of just video games, and and just snapping out a single round of that game that kind of exemplifies what the game's going for, or maybe 2 rounds, but not having the entire experience from start to finish and having to narrate it and everything, because I have a gaming group that's finally getting going here, and they're open to me filming us playing together, but I don't want to have to, like tell them to be quiet while I make my intro, or, ooh, we gotta mention this part. I just want to show some gameplay of games that I think are pretty cool, and so I've got a video coming on Dune Imperium, which is amazing. So look forward to that. And then Marvel United X-Men, I swear I will get back to it. It's just, they're harder videos to make than anything else, to be honest, and they were not getting viewed. And so I got a little disillusioned with it, but people still like it, and I'm still committed to completing it. I just wanted to take a break. So I'm going to get back to that, and we'll go from there. So thank you everybody for watching. Hope you enjoyed this, and I will talk to you later.